Last week, we had a hands-on demonstration of the Shmata method. We also touched on the leaf by leaf method with the video, and that video is available online. There was some problems when it was being broadcasted with the sound. It was uploaded online at playback at mikvah.org/power hour. Over there, it's in its full uh, quality. So if someone missed that or did not hear it, they can see it over there. This week we're going to be continuing on the washing methods. Although we spoke in detail the Shmata method, within the Shmata method at times some produce may need a little bit more attention, like we mentioned briefly in the video, and we gave one example was organic produce. So today we're going to continue that, as well as we're going to touch on produce that is so infested or so difficult to get clean or check. It's therefore blacklisted, so to speak. It's not recommended to use, and we'll address that as well. And if we have enough time, we'll try to give methods with which we could actually eat this blacklisted produce, if there is any way to do it, even if it's a more complicated method. So, as we noted, the Shmata method at times, some produce will need a little bit longer agitation, some produce will need a little bit longer soaking. Um, Whatever kashrus guide you choose to follow, usually they will detail, just keep an eye out for that. It's not always going to be the same amount of soaking. At times it can be 2 minutes, at times it can be 5 minutes. At times they may say to soak it for 12 minutes. So keep an eye out for that. The soaking time may change as well as the agitation time. Sometimes they'll say to agitate for 1 minute. Sometimes they'll say to agitate for 2 minutes. So just keep an eye out for that, that may change. Some notable things that we can pinpoint and discuss are produce which is a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more likely to have bugs, and maybe a little bit more of a challenge to clean. And those which we'll focus on today is kale, curly parsley, Swiss chard, and organic produce in general. Are you able to hear me? Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we can hear you, but we would like to hear you a little bit louder. I don't know if it's possible.
Okay, we'll try. So we will be focusing on more produce which is more sensitive to the bugs, and therefore needs more attention. The produce which we mentioned was kale, curly parsley, Swiss chard, and organic produce in general. The way to treat such produce is, first of all, the wash water, the soap, the water that you're going to be using to wash it with soap and soak it. You want that water to be a little warm, not hot. You don't want it to ruin the produce, but if it's more lukewarm, it helps actually the cleaning and the bugs to come off easier. So you want to change that instead of being regular tap water, but to make it a little warm. In addition, you'll want to lengthen the soaking by 2-3 minutes on top of what's generally recommended. And as well, the agitation, when you're agitating the produce, should be maybe add another minute of agitation. Besides for that, an additional step that should be done is rinsing the produce under a strong stream of water. Strong stream of water does not mean it's got to be strong enough that you would knock a person down, but if there was a bug on there, the bug would fall off. So you want to have each piece of produce come off, be washed off under a strong stream of water. That's something which will be additionally done. And as well, you'll have an additional soap stage, like we described in the video very briefly for organic. You'll soak it in soap a second time before doing the third plain water soaking and checking the water. So this is a few things that will be different when we're dealing with produce which is a little bit more sensitive. Then we have broccoli and cauliflower, which are a bit more complex due to how tight the florets are together, and therefore it is harder to get the bugs out. So one method which exists out there, we'll mention two. One method which exists out there is to parboil the broccoli or the cauliflower for about 2 minutes, and that will soften the florets, that will open them up, and there is no kashrus concern regarding the bugs being in there, as halacha describes. Um, in another scenario regarding bugs being boiled, there the scenario in halacha is regarding filtering honey, and bring it to hot so that you can filter it to get the bees' body parts out of it. Halacha says that the taste that's given off by bugs is not forbidden, as it doesn't give off any good taste. It's not considered edible or taste. However, the bug itself is what we are forbidden to eat. So therefore, there's no issue to boil. You can boil the broccoli, boil the cauliflower. There's no issue with the taste of bugs because that's not edible. It's not considered anything connected to kashrus. It's not food. And then once the florets are loosened, you can do the shmata method of the more sensitive, bug-sensitive produce that we just mentioned. Another option is to soak it in hot tap water. So not bring it to a boil, but soak in hot tap water for 15 to 20 minutes and let it soften like that. That's another option. Those are two options to in order to soften it. And then you would do again the shmata method for more sensitive produce that we just described earlier, and again filter the water through the final water through a cloth. Same idea. The end would be the same. Next produce which needs particular attention is strawberries. Strawberries are infested, but there is a way to clean them. Check with the kashrus guide. Some of them sometimes will have a little bit higher concentration of soap. And as well, something you want to do when cleaning strawberries is to cut off the top, the leaves with a little bit of the fruit. Make sure they don't create any cavity, because if you create a cavity, then the bugs can go into the fruit as you're washing it. If you did create a cavity, split the strawberry in half, so now it's fully open and it can be properly washed. But generally, a cavity will not form. Once you cut off the top, you will soak it in a soapy wash. The one we would recommend doing the methods that we mentioned for more sensitive produce. And as it's soaking, you want to rub your finger and go around each strawberry, rubbing all parts of the surface. And then, as well, when you're washing it off, make sure that the water really washes off every part of the surface of the strawberry. Those are things to look out for, particular for strawberries, but in general, you would adapt the more bug-sensitive procedure, and ultimately would check the final water in the shmata as described. The next, which is some fruits or vegetables may have a unique method, which will not be the shmata method, but we just need to be aware of this special attention that they need. One thing is barley. Barley at times could be infested. The way to check it is to put it in a bowl of water, white bowl of water, until you cover it with a nice amount of water, a little bit above the barley, and then you let it soak for about 20 minutes and see if there's any bugs. You remove the barley and then check to see if you see any bugs. If you do, you should not use it. That's unique for barley. At times, beans could be infested and stuff like that, but it's not so common in the United States, and not common enough that we need to be concerned. If a package of beans, let's say, was open for a while and it could be infestation, or it's a warm climate and there's bugs around, then you want to check it. But it's not common enough that would need checking. But for barley, it's common enough that we need to do a basic check. And then there is the quinoa and brown rice method, which we showed a quick video the other day. In short, the way you do it, you have a special strainer that the holes in the strainer are so small that nothing can come out, meaning not nothing, but that the grains can't come out, so quinoa can't come through it, or the rice can't come through it. And you put the amount of quinoa rice that you want, and you shake that strainer over a white cloth for about 30 seconds, and then you put that cloth on a light box, or if you don't have a light box, check it under a strong overhead light or with a flashlight of your phone to see if any bugs are found on the cloth. And I will show again quickly a video just to give a quick idea of how that looks like. I'm going to share the screen quickly. So as you see in the beginning of the video, they're using a type of strainer, that the holes are big enough that bugs can come out, but not big enough that the kindle can come out. And then you shake it for about 30 seconds. We'll press play again in case someone didn't see it. And you shake it back and forth over a white piece of paper, and then you'll check the paper or the paper towel under. If you look here, there's a little bug walking around. That's that. Fine. Next things which will need unique special attention is, this will be for quinoa and brown rice. White rice in America does not require checking, as well as flours in America. White flour, all types of flours do not require checking unless the bag was open for a long time and you're in a hot climate or there's bugs around. Then obviously you want to check it, but it's not considered infested enough that it needs to have to be checked or sifted. In regards to peppers, many times there are bugs that come under the stem, where the stem is under it a bit. Bugs can gather there. So you want to cut away the stem and a little bit of the vegetable with the stem, and then you want to wash the pepper under some water, and that's enough. But it's important, if the stem remains on, there will be bugs, and that's especially common. People sometimes roast little peppers with the stem on. That's not something that could be done because there is bugs over there, and you want to remove the stem with a little bit of the vegetable and wash it off like that. In regards to mushroom, there is shiitake mushrooms. When you turn it over, there's a whole bunch of brown, fan-like looking material. You want to scrape that out with a metal spoon, scoop it out until you just get to the hard part of the mushroom, and then you rinse it off with water, and that will suffice for shiitake mushrooms specifically. Other mushrooms are not really an issue. You just have to wash them well. And there are some mushrooms that are blacklisted, which we'll discuss briefly in the blacklist. Then there are some. There is one thing which we need to give extra attention to is the pineapple. Pineapple has a lot of mites crawling all over the outside, all over the leaves and in the skin and the cracks of the skin. So usually by peeling it fully, you get rid of all that, and also making sure that there's no little brown eyes or holes on the fruit, that you fully peel it until you just see yellow. You don't see any brown, any holes, any crevices. But because your knife and cutting board and fruit was just touching everything, there are probably bugs that are crawling on there. So you just want to rinse off. Once you fully peeled it properly, you want to rinse that off, rinse your knife off, rinse your cutting board off, and then your pineapple will be ready to eat. But another thing you want to do is you don't want to put the head back on the platter that you'll be serving it, because the bugs are on there and will get on. So pineapple, you have to be careful with that. Garlic as well. Garlic heads will have little mites, and the best way to do it is once you peel the garlic, give it a quick rinse, and that will remove them and take care of them. Corn also has mites, which usually hangs out on the corn. If it's a corn that comes with the skin, with the green type of skin, remove that and then wash it really well under a strong stream of water. If you bought it without that on, without the skin on, just wash it well under a strong stream of water, and that suffices. Now to what we call the blacklist. Things which are much more infested due to their nature of the way the produce looks like. It could be because there's many crevices and areas for the bugs to hide in. It could be because the fruit is very delicate and it's hard to properly wash it and get the bugs out. We're going to go through them right now by sharing my screen. We're going to have some pictures of those different things that are blacklisted. So we're going to start with the artichoke. Artichoke has many, many layers, and very tightly, all those layers come tightly together, and as it grows, bugs get in there, and it's very hard to get the bugs out. So all the parts that are leafy or that are like that cannot be eaten. The only way to really eat it is to scoop away any leafy part and just have the hard heart, which is no leaves, just a hard piece. Have that, scoop everything else out, and once you only have that left, you can eat that after washing it. The next is asparagus. We'll just show one quick example about the artichoke. So you'll have the leafy heart, which is right here. There's the leaves in general. There's the bottom, which is a hard part, which is not leafy, and then there's the stem. The stem is usually not edible, and the leafy parts are not edible due to bugs. So the only part really that's realistic to eat is the bottom, or what they are called artichoke bottom, which is the picture right here. Once you scoop all the all the leaves, you're left with this hard piece, which can be rinsed off and washed off. And this is how it looks like before you scoop it out and it still has all the leaves on. The next is asparagus. Asparagus is very highly infested, and the bugs are found in two places: in the heads, among all these tight leaves, and under these triangular leaves. And those are pretty tight up against the asparagus, and therefore, due to that, it is not recommended to consume them unless you remove these triangular leaves and remove the heads, and you're basically left with something looking more like a string bean. But that's practically the most practical way to eat them. And the next we have, just to show a picture, this is how it would look like after cutting off the heads and peeling off the sides. Next is Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts are again also many leaves tightly compacted together and many layers coming together. The bugs that are in there are trapped. It's not going to help if you wash the outer sprout. The bugs trapped in there are not going to come out, and they're highly infested. So it's not enough to just wash it. It's pretty much not feasible and not possible to eat them the way they are, or to wash them or to get the bugs out. Again, we could see how tight the leaves are and how they are. So just washing the surface, the outside, would not help in any way. So how could you eat them? If you have a way of removing all the leaves and just having them individual as leaves, then you can wash them like that and check them, eat them. Or if you shred it in a way that all the shreds come apart, that would be another option. But otherwise, it's not recommended. Next is raspberry. The raspberries, due to all the different crevices and intricacies, the bugs could be in many places, and getting them out, dislodging them, is not so practical, as the raspberry is very delicate, and therefore it's not recommended at all to consume the way it is. Blackberries, similar idea as raspberries, as well as mulberries, the same idea. Edible flowers, the same thing. They are very intricate, have many little parts to it where the bugs can go, and trying to wash them or getting the bugs out will destroy them, and therefore they're not recommended. And if you put them on food, the bugs can crawl out and affect the food, so therefore they should not be used. And then you have different types of mushrooms. One of them is called the morel mushroom. Due to its nature also, which having so many crevices and openings, bugs get in there, and it's very hard to wash it properly and get the bugs out. Therefore, it's not recommended to use these. Next is oysters, same idea. Due to this whole fan-like, and it's not as sturdy as the shiitake that you can just scoop out, the fan-like material, bugs get in there and you cannot get them out, and therefore it is not recommended to eat these oyster mushrooms. And then you have the porcini as well. It will have some very delicate texture and areas where bugs can get in, which is hard to remove. So in addition to that, these cannot be consumed.